There you go, he can't complain now. I was recording and not streaming.
I thought something was up because I normally get the chat open. Oh yeah, you got a nice new video. 15 seconds.
Here we go. Okay, well, apologies for the any technical issues there, everybody, as we've dived straight into it, as I completely messed up the start of this and started recording instead of broadcasting. But if we now take a look at our overall times, it does seem that Morgan showing his pace again in the bronze split here, setting a time already of a 1:42.1, and as these cars go out and set their laps in this qualifying session, we would expect the times to drop as the track rubbers in and dries out.
Impressively, a second faster than the second place driver. It's a very dominant time.
It is indeed, and well, second down is peering a bit closer as Nordemir leads Bell by just over 1/10 of a second. But Morgan really showing some dominance, and on for an even better lap here. Could be breaking into the 1:41s, which would be an impressive showing from the bronze split driver.
I have to say, I expect more drivers from the bronze split to be breaking 43 before the end of the session.
Yeah, I would definitely imagine so. As Darren
bankers in.
Yep, Darren Christie is the second of our bronze split drivers to break into the 1:42s. And Morgan on for a real quick lap here, as he does a 1:41.5 as he crosses the line. That is a supremely fast lap from Morgan. And another driver who's looking to improve is Nordemir.
From Northern Lake Racing.
He does reliably inform me that that is his name in Dutch, Northern Lake.
Oh, is it?
It is.
I like that, that was good.
Well, I say he reliably informs me. He does inform me. I'm not sure how reliable it is. As he comes into the faster section of the track, the two flat-out right-handers, followed by the very tricky braking zone down into the third right-hander, and then another tricky. Oh, and we see how tricky that braking zone is, and expertly held within the lines there by Nordemir.
I think that's the Lexus, though. I think that car tends to do that.
So Nordemir going to be on for a good lap here. Definitely going to be breaking into the 1:42s as long as he keeps it together on the final corner.
He uses the
runoff, and it's a good exit. So that is going to be a 1:42.5 for Nordemir. Gets back to about a second from Morgan, but Morgan really showing his class. As well, saying that, Bell slots in between them again with a 1:42.2. So we're going to have a couple of drivers, I think, knocking on the doors of the 1:41s by the end of this session.
We should do. I hope so.
And another one of our title contenders here, Liam Galvin, is on for an improvement here, although does have the Aston Martin of that Strom just in the way, but is on for a couple of tenths improvement here.
Oh, quicker laps put in there. Nordemir dropped to fourth.
Keep watching Galvin in the Rubber Dinghy Rapids McLaren. Appropriate name for the conditions we're seeing here. And really using all of that outside curb there, and just runs a little bit too wide. And that is going to be an invalid lap for Galvin, and he pulls over to the side of the road and returns to the pit lane.
Full four lines reference there.
But Nordemir comes around the final corner again. It's going to be on for an improvement. Not going to be challenging the likes of Morgan and Bell, but potentially challenging Jelinek for P3 on the grid. Although, it looks like it was a bit of a sloppy exit to the corner there for Nordemir, and just loses that time he'd gained as he crossed the line.
You go out wide and try and use those rumble strips. It's really 50-50 whether it works out for you or not.
Yeah,
just to avoid it.
Just trying to put the power down on that curb, and you can see the traction just slip away. Ooh, as Adam Burks gets way out there on the curb, on the exit of the first sector, but still looking to be up on his previous best at the moment, though only by a couple of thousandths. It's a decent exit from Adam, but one driver we're going to go and check in with is Joe Wright in the SRF Racing BMW, who's currently up. Well, is down in P9 at the moment with a 1:43.7, but is currently 1.1 seconds up on their previous best, and this could throw the BMW driver right up the order as long as he holds it together in these final few corners that he's got coming up. It's a good exit from Wright. Just 2 corners to go, just needs to hold it together now. Doesn't need to be taking too many risks here. It's going to be on for a good improvement. And he crosses the line, and it's just going to be quick. It is P5, a 1:42.6, just losing a couple of tenths there. Doesn't quite pick the likes of Jelinek and Nordemir, but has got himself a good baseline to go and build on for the next 4 minutes of this qualifying session. Speaking of Jelinek, the Ferrari driver up on his previous best as well. Keeping things tidy, but just missing the apex there. Could lose him a little bit of time. Yeah, and for those in chat, it's worth bearing in mind that the times that some drivers may see on the practice server they're probably going to be quicker in this session than they were ever in practice, as we've got well, at the moment 13 drivers out, creating a somewhat dry line around the circuit. I think from experience, at least last night, I was personally about a second quicker during the qualifying session than I ever was in practice. So just gives you an idea of how much these cars driving around improves the condition of the track surface. Oh, looking at this, Wright is on another flying lap, and this could be the second of our drivers to break into the 141s, although just narrowly missing out with a 1:42.0. Very good lap from Wright.
He's got to be pleased with that. So they've got 2 minutes left to start their final lap.
Yep. So as long as they don't encounter too much traffic, they should be able to complete this, or the likes of Wright will be able to complete this lap and then another flying lap, because they only have to have started their flying lap by the time the 15 minutes ticks over, and then once that 15 minutes does tick over, we can have our gold split drivers out on the track to try and set their qualifying times for this session. And just taking a look at the standings, or just to take you through the standings as they are for the moment for our gold split, bronze split at the moment. We have got Marko Kozic currently in P1, who is unfortunately absent for tonight's race, so he will be slipping down the order, I do imagine. But our current pole sitter, Matthew Morgan, is just behind, 4 points behind Kozic, and he's followed just by 1 point by Kevin Nordemir, who currently finds himself sitting down in P5. So definitely got some variance in pace here, at least being shown in this qualifying session. So could be a bit of shuffling going on at the top of our order. Birch just manages to keep it in track limits there. Should be able to improve on his previous best, and he does. Jumps Darren Christie up into P6. Oh, and Liam Galvin, who was up on his previous best, is now... Oh wait, sorry, that is not Liam Galvin. That is Liam Galvin, who's just jumped up and jumped over Darren Christie. And has got time for one more flying lap. As do any of these other drivers who are still out on track. And so as we pass the 15-minute mark, this is the final lap for any of these drivers who are currently out on track. So we'll keep an eye and see who can improve. Well, one driver who looks like they're potentially going to improve is Matthew Morgan. He's currently sitting on pole overall, and in the bronze split hasn't got the huge pace advantage that he seemed to have at the start of this session. He's currently a couple of tenths up on his previous best. And already, actually, I think the times in this session faster than the pole lap we saw in the rookie silver race last night.
Okay. Could it be like randomness in the weather? I don't know if the championship has randomness.
No, so there is no randomness in the weather. So last night's pole lap was a 1:41.9. Already Morgan on a 1:49.5, really showing his pace. And a couple of these drivers here actually really showing some very, very good pace.
Jelinek would have been pole yesterday as well.
And so that is our bronze drivers all done with their qualifying. So we will go on to the much larger... Oh, okay. Romain Fabini exploring the gravel there. This is not Rallycross Romain. So we'll go take a look at Michael Wang. Who's currently the first of the gold split drivers who will be setting a time. The Ferrari of Wang, they're looking a little twitchy, must be said. Seems to be struggling in the traction zones, and it appears the car behind is catching him. And that is, I think, the McLaren of Richard Christie just behind, and yes, it is. Does look to be catching one, and won't want to get too close to the Ferrari driver. But if he's on a quick lap, he's not going to want to give it up either. So might just be feeling he wants to finish this lap and then create a bit of a gap for himself. So as Wang's just about to cross the line. That is good enough for P6 straight away as Richard Christie slots himself into P4. And when the first flying lap on these wet tyres, these gold split drivers showing some solid pace here, and we've got to expect they're only going to get quicker as the track dries out and the tyres warm up. As I say that, Richard Christie already half a second up on his previous best. And I think we are going to see some very, very good times here from our gold split drivers. And Richard Christie, who's inherited the lead here of the gold split in the championship this season, as Derek Sun, the previous leader, has gone to pastures new. He's headed on up to the pro split with Hamling, who also got promoted up into gold split. So some of the faster drivers here really showing their pace and showing that they've got what it takes to mix it with the best of the best in the ACCSS. Just one more corner to go for Christie, and this is looking like a very solid lap. Just maybe goes in a little deep on the final corner, but it's a solid lap from Christie. Doesn't quite beat Morgan for pole, so the bronze split driver is still currently sitting in pole position. Dominic Ingle currently sitting down in P12 on a 1:42.4. is currently improving on his previous best. This could definitely be a good lap from Ingle if he holds this one together. Just 2 corners to go. This should see Ingle getting right up there in the grid for tonight's race. So he goes a bit deep into the final corner. This is just a little bit of time, but that is currently P7 for the Bentley driver.
Still nobody able to knock Morgan off his top post yet.
Oh, although it does look, Christie looks like he might be on to do so, but is currently being held up by Wang ahead of him, and this could cost Christie that chance of getting pole position.
It looks like Wang's done a fast lap as well.
Wang currently down 8/10 on his previous best and did hold Christie up there. Christie was looking like he was going to be about 2/10 up on his previous best, but just losing out, and maybe he wants to make himself a bit of a gap here, because being stuck behind Wang, I don't think he's going to be getting past.
Yeah, because it looks like Wang's going for another quick lap as well.
Yeah, all these drivers here will just be banging in the quick laps one after the other, so Christie, in patience, maybe just getting the better of him, although Wang has made a mistake there, and this does allow Christie through. Christie's still up on his previous best, but we'll actually go and check in with Sander Toth in one of the other McLarens, who's also on for a solid lap here.
Boom.
There we go, that is pole position for Toth.
Finally, the the gold saving some
Saving face there, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of bronze intermingled there in the top half.
Yeah, it seems to be a very, very shuffled grid tonight. The wet conditions, well, as we know, can be a bit of an equaliser, and it definitely seems the case tonight. Perhaps some of these drivers not having to put in just enough practice in these conditions, and struggling to find the pace when it matters most. As Paulik in the BMW is looking to improve on his lap, but runs a bit wide there, and will not be improving on this particular lap. But we're actually going to go check back in with our pole sitter, who, with already a very good lap under his belt, is on for an even better one as long as he doesn't get held up by these cars in front of him. Currently 3/10 up on his previous best. The other McLaren there just getting well out of his way and won't be held up too much by that. Oh, and if he holds this all together, we could even see a lap into the 140s. Could we see it here? Oh, and it looks like it just slipped away from him on the final corner, but it's going to be close. It's a 141.1. As not quite the 140 we were hoping for, but Toff will return to the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's a bit of a mic drop moment from Toff there, or he's going to refuel and get back out there. Just a few corners to go for Richard Christie. Can he jump himself in front of Morgan? Otherwise, oh, and runs wide there. That's going to be an invalid lap for Christie. Currently, we're set for a mixed split front row. If things were to finish as they stand.
Yeah.
We hear a big old screech of tyres there as Christie goes a little bit sideways through the first corner. Doesn't lose too much time because of it, but that's not going to do his tyres much good. Toth has shown us that there is definitely time to be found out there, as Jan-Nicholas Vesselberg goes and puts in a 141.3, puts himself into P2, sorry, 141.4, and kicks Morgan off the front row, as Paulick goes in and sets the 141.3. So now is the time where we're starting to see these gold split drivers setting the times that they're capable of. Now, how far down the order is Morgan going to be shuffled, and how many of the so we've already got a batch of about 6 drivers of bronze at the back of this field before the next gold driver. Are the other gold drivers going to be able to shuffle their way back into this field? As Richard Christie runs himself a little bit wide there, just skips off the curb, and that is going to be an invalidation for this lap. So just a couple of laps left in this session, I think, for Christie. He's going to have to be careful. Can't afford to invalidate too many more laps. As Dominic Ingle puts himself into P4 with a time just 2.5 hundredths of a second slower than Nicholas Vesselberg. So this is the part of the session where we start to see those times fall. And next up is going to be Galanos, who tries to jump himself over one or two of the bronze split drivers, as he has Morgan and Jelinek in front of him on the grid at the moment. Ooh, just losing a little bit of time there through the third to last corner. He's got just one more traction zone to find some time. It's a good exit, but I don't think he's going to improve on this lap, or if it is, it's not going to be enough to jump him over Jelinek. So Glanos going to have to make do with P10 for now. He's going to have time for probably 2 more flying laps at this stage. There's Richard Maitland-Price in the Boat Time Racing Bentley. Struggles to be the next gold driver to jump ahead of Michael Morgan. Currently not improving, just less than a tenth down on his previous best, but we will stick with Maitland-Price for the time being. Switch does get a good exit, but is still 1.5 tenths off his previous best. Doesn't look like he's going to improve on this lap, and he's going to have one more chance of a flying lap with the track in the best condition that it's been in this so far. But we also have to ask the question, what sort of conditions are his tyres in at this moment? right now out on track, both Richards, Maitland-Price and Christie, trying to get themselves up ahead of the bronze split driver of Michael Morgan. Also going to want to see how far they can jump themselves up the order. Both currently sitting half a second off of pole position. And it's Maitland-Price who currently looks like he's got the pace to jump himself further up the order. Currently sitting half a second up on his previous best. As we see there just behind, I believe that is Richard Christie just coming around. I'm actually going to jump to have a look at Sander Toth, who's actually, sorry, we will go back to Maitland-Price, who's just about to finish up his lap. Currently a good couple of tenths up on his previous best, and this will jump him up the order, will jump him ahead of Morgan if he keeps it together as he crosses the line.
Tidy last corner.
Very tidy. And that has jumped him up to P4, but it's Sander Toth we're going to keep an eye on now as he comes across the line. Not quite enough pole position. 8 thousandths of a second off of the Bentley of Dominic Ingle, and that is pole position for Ingle for tonight's race. And
it's starting to look less and less likely we're going to get a 140 now.
Yeah, I don't think we are, as the only drivers still out on track are the Gallants into the pits. So that is qualifying done, and we will join you again in just a couple of minutes for the start of tonight's race. Welcome back, everyone. As our drivers sit on the grid ready for tonight's race, we'll quickly run you through the order of our runners tonight. So we have got in pole position Dominic Ingle in the Bentley, followed by Sander Toth, Paulik, Maitland-Price, Nicholas Vesselberg. We have the bronze split driver of Michael Morgan in the Mercedes, followed then by Richard Christie, Michael Wang. We have Jelinek in the Ferrari, with Galanos, Zaharansky, Barr, Turala, Bunyan, Wright, Hershey, Shungle, Scholl, Fabini, Badej, Bell, Nordemir, Turrell, Coleman, Burks, Galvin, Christie, Chittle, Morris, Bedetto, Strom, Whiteley, and finally Willek. As our drivers get their engines turned on and get ready to pull away for the formation lap. We will be back very shortly. As we get ready to get underway here at Misano for tonight's race. It's a good getaway from Sander Toff in P2, but Dominic Ingle holds the inside line.
Oh, crash at the back.
Oh, as we got a bit of contact at the back, and there seems to be 3 cars round.
Carbon copy of yesterday's race.
We're keeping an eye at the front because it's currently Ingle who leads the pack away, but Sander Toff under pressure from Paulik behind. Ooh, and we've got cars 3 abreast further down the field.
Are they cleaning the front half of the build?
Yeah, it's one driver who's managed to make up a few places is Barr, further down the field. We bring back our timing tower, as we can see. Still all quite close together as Jelinek takes a little bit of an excursion onto the grass. Gets away again. And you can see there on our timing tower there is a 10-second penalty for Chittle down in P20, and that was for a bad rejoin in the qualifying. So unfortunate start to the race for Chittle, as he's just under pressure there from Bell in the Aston Martin, but manages to defend from the attacking car there. Oh, as Bell can't quite make up his mind which side he wants to attack on, but he's got the inside for the slow right-hander. And just giving each other enough space there into the corner. And Bell really wanting to find a way past the what looks like a quite scraped up Lexus. Not sure if Chittle has found himself in the wars there. Currently 5 seconds behind Adam Burks.
Yeah, he's creating a little train for himself here.
Another driver who's in chase mode at the moment is Michael Morgan, who's looking to get past Nicholas Vesselberg up ahead, and yeah, potentially hit. Although we did see Michael Morgan out-qualified by Vesselberg, it is worth bearing in mind that there are a lot more gold split drivers than there are bronze split drivers, so they would have had, in theory, a drier track to set their lap times on. So Morgan may actually have the pace here to take on a couple of these gold split drivers ahead. Further down the field in P12, Galanos taking to the runoff there, loses a couple of positions because of it. So Galanos not feeling so comfortable in the high fuel load in these wet conditions. Just struggling for a little bit of front end by the looks of things. We're seeing a penalty come out for car number 333.
Go. Down to 23. Oh. Ooh. Just lost the back.
Yeah, that's. I've definitely had that happen to me before in practice. That is a corner you want to be careful on, especially early on in the stint when the pressure's maybe not quite up to optimum. You want to be careful that you don't just touch the tyre on the inside and get yourself a handful of oversteer.
Oh, that was a heavy bump on the side of the area to that car. That'll be a good few seconds in the pits if he wants to fix that.
Yeah, you can also see a little bit of scuff on the front splitter there, so potentially going to make his struggle for front end grip even worse at this stage in the race. Orban Paulik, the driver currently with the fastest lap of this race, is putting some pressure on Sander Toth, but Toth has actually caught up to the back of Ingle now. We did see Ingle drive away a bit at the start of this race, but now it's a 3-car fight up at the front.
This is starting to weigh up as a good battle. Not many splits all the way down to 20th, really. All in quite a close queue. This is a. I assumed it was a difficult track to pass on. It felt like a difficult track.
Yeah, there's not many opportunities for overtaking around here. You really do have to wait for the car ahead to make a mistake. Um, your best opportunity is if you can get a better run out of the driver ahead into that fast sequence of right-handers and get a car alongside. You might be able to outbrake them into the braking zone, but it is a humongous risk.
Yeah, and there's a lot of deceptive corners that make you think I could go 2 wide, 3 wide, but there really only is one fast line, and if the defending car is on that line, it's very hard to work your way around them. Slight toss, losing a little bit of touch from Ingle.
Does seem it that the pressure being applied by Paulick is allowing Ingle to just pull out a touch of a gap, but yeah, it's potentially just the nature of some of these corners, you know, dragging out the field, and then the concertina effect in the heavy braking zone just closes them back up again.
And having to fend from Paulick, of course. Paulick.
Right, a huge shout out to Morgan at this stage in the race, still really showing his pace, up in P6 at the moment, and no
really?
sign of being under that much pressure.
Not having to worry about his fellow bronze drivers at the moment at all.
Not at all, yeah. The rest of the bronze field, a good 12 positions behind Morgan. Yeah, he could afford to let a few of these gold drivers just go past him, but seems to have no appetite to do so, and is more than
Willing.
well within his rights to attack from this position and hold on to P6 in this race.
It is a single race after all. They are allowed to battle the other split drivers.
Morgan now right on the back of Vesselberg, and Vesselberg probably with a bit of unwanted pressure here doesn't really want to be fighting with Morgan, but the bronze split driver in the Mercedes is showing that he has got the pace to be attacking him. As Christie's looking to try and make a move as well, obviously getting frustrated by having a bronze split car preventing him from making an attack on Vesselberg.
Vesselberg taking the very wide line there.
So we're going to be at this drive coming out of the final corner. And we hold station for now as we check back in with our fight at the front. And really it seems to just be these front three drivers still in it for now, although Richard Maitland-Price has closed up that gap to Paulick by just a bit. Was that a couple of seconds before, now just 1.5. So the front three beginning to be drawn in by the rest of the field, so it could be a larger fight for the lead of this race. Richard Christie trying to find his way past Morgan. This is slowing both drivers down, and I'm going to imagine that Christie is fuming in that cockpit right now. Just wants to get on and start attacking his fellow gold split driver. But Michael Morgan showing that he's got the pace to be there. as Dominic Ingle goes and takes the fastest lap of this race. Starting to pull out a little bit of a gap to Sanders off behind. Going to be a little bit of spread between these front runners. Not quite pushing each other as hard as they were previously. Still, with 48 minutes left of this race to run, there's no point taking any big risks here. Every driver has to take a mandatory pit stop during this race, so they don't need to fight here. They can do their battling through the pit stops if they just keep close. As Zaransky is threatening the back of Galanos now for P13. It's got a lot of close battles throughout this field. It does seem that the adding the fuel into the cars is potentially changing the pace distribution amongst the field, as some drivers and some cars potentially struggle with the higher fuel load. Whereas I imagine the drivers in the Porsches actually having a nicer time at this stage in the race, and we'll see their pace start to slip away as the fuel burns off, which may seem counterintuitive, but it's just due to the way the weight balance works in these rear-engine cars. Further down the field, in P30, we have our gold split driver of Daniel Badej struggling in amongst the drivers at the rear of the field, and oh, that was a quite a big mistake there from Badej. Collects. Is that a driver lapping him? No, I believe that was the 922 car. So yes, that is Hershey, who's currently sitting in P21. Who Badej just collects there by going a bit sideways. Oh, apologies, may sound a bit low at the moment. Let me double check that. Apologies, how is the sound? Good, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Must have just been something up with my microphone. Oh, and we will check back in with the fight at the front of our field. Oh, as Dominic Ingle looking like he got a little bit squirrely there coming out of the final. Was that the I'm a bit lost where we are on track. No, that is. Oh, and the contact between Ingle and Toff. And oh, I expect the stewards are going to want to have a look at that one. A little bit of a twitch there from Toff into the side of Ingle. Just sends the Bentley spearing on off the corner. It was a little bit of door banging on the way past, but it was quite an impactful door bang that sent Ingle out onto the runoff and has given Toff the lead for now. And it's actually pushed Ingle back into the clutches of Thorben Paulek. And as you see, chat is talking about the relative merits of Morgan battling where he is. Morgan definitely showing that he's got the pace to be fighting with these gold split drivers, and is actually putting awful lot of pressure onto the McLaren of Vesselberg. So yeah, absolutely no suggestion that he should be giving up any of his positions, as yeah, is fighting for P6 completely on merit here, and if anything is being actually held up by Vesselberg rather than Christie being held up by him. So yeah, big kudos to the bronze split driver. As we're seeing penalties starting to be handed out to the drivers for some of our early lap incidents. We have Shingle trying to get his way past Coleman ahead. Coleman with a bit of a poor exit out onto the straight. And this is going to allow Leonard through as they pass the back marker Lexus. And that was a good bit of opportunistic driving there from Leonard. And gets himself up into P19. And has got the trio of bronze split drivers ahead of him to go and start chasing down. We've already had 4 of our drivers into the pits to serve their mandatory pit stop for this race. Some of these drivers actually pitting a fair old while ago. Wright, Chittle and Badej actually pitting as soon as the window opened, so it's going to be interesting to see the state of their tyres as we get towards the end of this race, as well 50 minutes is getting towards the usual stint time that these tyres would be expected to take. Now it actually does look like at the front Morgan has managed to get past Vesselberg. So when we're saying that maybe the bronze split driver might want to give up his place, he has gone and taken another one up into P5 in this race, and well, we have to expect that Morgan will be earning himself a promotion next season, potentially even the fabled double promotion that we did see Cal Mason receive last season, going all the way from rookies up into silver. But now Richard Christie is able to start putting his gold split fellow under some pressure, and we now get to see whether Christie has got that pace to make a move and get himself up into P5 in the gold split. Remember here that the points are awarded based on where you finish in your split, so slightly different from the usual GT series, where it will be points will be awarded based on overall position, and then the drivers will be split in the standings post, or like as an aggregate rather than per race. Here in the ACCSS, we split our drivers in the standings as they finish per race. So currently Vesselberg is sitting in gold split number 1, and Vesselberg in gold split number 5 and Morgan in bronze split number 1. And yes, very correct, I did not change the stream title. Apologies for that. I will accept my telling off after the stream. As Tarula, a little bit on the curb there, struggling to get traction out of the corner, has just dropped back a little bit from Wang ahead, who he was putting under some pressure before. Talking of putting under pressure, Richard Christie is really on the offensive on Vesselberg here, as Vesselberg runs very wide. Not really enough room through that corner for to try and get alongside for an overtake. But Vesselberg at this stage in the race really does seem to be struggling. And it's Richard Christie who's got the pace at the moment. And Christie's showing some real solid pace here, and it would be interesting actually, or would be interesting to be able to see what the tyre pressures are looking like for some of these drivers, as with the track drying out, as the cars drive over it, the tyre pressures and the tyre temperatures will be slightly higher than they were perhaps seeing in qualifying. So some drivers may just have accidentally overpressured, and as they get longer into the stint and later into this race, just struggling with tyre wear and tyre grip. So a lot of strategic play going into this race. It's not necessarily all about who is the better driver, but it's who has got themselves equipped with the best setup and with the best use of their tyres. As Ingle getting very sideways there, and does well to hold it together and get it back going in the right way, and also does well not to collect the back of Sander Toth. And you can see that the Bentley there really struggling for rear end grip. Yeah, and I imagine we'll be seeing Ingle, we do see Ingle dive into the pits now. Might just be wanting to get a few clicks down on pressures, and apologies for laughing there, but it's just a Lexus just clouting the wall on the entry to the pit lane. That is not what you want to be doing on the way into the pit lane. But I'm sure the pit crew will buff that one out and send him on his way with a nicely repaired car, as we pick up another driver as they run their way into the pit lane. And we will see if we can go find someone else who's actually going to at least do a lap, as Adam Burks takes us around the final corner and stays out on track. So we will stick with this fight for now. So now we'll have to wait and see how the positions shake out once this round of pit stops is complete. These drivers now who have already taken their pit stop are going to have to run a longer stint on this second set of tyres on a potentially slightly drier track than they started on. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage their tyres. Can't push quite as hard as they did in the first stint if their tyres were starting to go away from them already, as they will definitely wear out before the end of the race. Although some of these drivers may also have just taken strategic pit stops to get themselves into some clean air and put in some fast laps without being impeded by other drivers. There's Adam Burks just avoiding the wayward McLaren there. That is the 921 McLaren of... who is that? I don't know who that is. Oh, that is Bedetto down in P26, so that is not for position for Burks. So just getting a back marker out the way, and he can get back on chasing the Ferrari of Jelinek. And down in P15, Coleman has managed to keep with Leonard. Shungle for the P14, and it's was just that small mistake that cost Coleman. No lack of pace in that BMW. These two drivers seemingly evenly matched at this point in the race, but it must be pointed out that Coleman will have to serve a 10-second penalty in the pit lane when he comes in to serve his pit stop soon. So, although Leonard also picks up a 5-second penalty, so the penalties coming thick and fast here. The stewards really on the ball tonight and handing out penalties for any driving infringement. say on the ball tonight. The stewards are on the ball every night. We must say thank you to our stewards in the ACCSS who give their time for free and do a very good job of making sure that our racing is fair and any indiscretions are promptly punished, and we don't have to have any post-race arguments. So very good jobs done by them. As Burks is brought back up to Jelinek after clearing the back markers and can continue to push the Ferrari driver under pressures. Apologies for my abhorrent English there. Burks taking the shallower line, and well spotted there, thanks for pointing that out, as Paulik has managed to make it past Toff, and it looks like Toff is maybe struggling for a little bit of pace here. Ooh, as Leonard picks up another 20 seconds of penalties, currently sitting on 25 seconds of penalties, and it's going to be a long old pit stop for Leonard there. As all the positions get shuffled, as we see more and more drivers diving into the pit lane, and with Toff sitting on a 5-second penalty, I suspect that will be for the bump pass we saw coming into the fast right-hander. So it's for car 10. So take a look. Yep, so that was for the bump we did see on Ingle that gave Toff the lead. So that 5-second penalty will likely be served by Toff in the pit lane. So that will likely see Ingle re-inherit the lead after the pit stop.
Yep.
As we're seeing penalties being handed out like candy here tonight. But at least the majority of the drivers currently up at the front of the grid, keeping it clean for now. Burks continues to follow Jelinek, fighting over P2 in the bronze split. Just lots of points on offer for this fight, and with neither Jelinek or Burks finding themselves that far up in the standings at the moment, it would be interesting to see where these two shuffle in once the points are handed out after this race. As Morgan currently Jelinek is in P3 in the standings at the moment, so apologies, no, Jelinek very much up there in the race for the Bronze Split Championship, but at the moment Morgan will be likely taking over the lead of the Bronze Split, and will have quite a fair margin over Jelinek. And talking of Michael Morgan, he's now putting the Bentley of Richard Maitland-Price under pressure. So Matthew Morgan not content to sit where he is, currently in P4 in the overall standings, with 4.5 seconds clear of Vesselberg, is charging forward and wants, well, to take this position for nothing more than pride. No more points available for Morgan at this stage in the race. He's currently P1 in his split, and this one is just for the pride and the bragging rights. As Morgan is really putting Maitland-Price under a lot of pressure at this stage of the stint, and yeah, it's as you do say in chat, might be might want to, well, might be seeing Maitland Price and just letting him go at some point, as he doesn't have to fight this one and doesn't want to allow, or doesn't want Morgan to force him into any defensive lines which are going to compromise his race. As Michael Morgan dives into the pit lane, very, very aggressive on the pit entry, as we also have our race leader Thorben Paulik into the pits at the same time. So now Sandertoff inherits the or re-inherits the lead of this race for now. Having seen all of his closest competitors dive into the pit lane, it'd be interesting to see what Sandertoff does this time around, as we see the Porsche in the background just struggling to stay on track. We'll check back in with our previous race leader and the current holder of the fastest lap, as he comes around now onto the start-finish straight. Thorben Paulik is exiting the pit lane, and it looks like he is well in the net lead of this race. So that has worked out well for Paulik, and has actually got himself a decent gap back to Ingle. Not only a gap, quite a few cars between himself and the previous race leader. So at the moment, Paulik with a strong lead. Although Paulik has not cleared his mandatory pit stop. So did he perhaps not change tyres in the pits? That is going to be a huge scalp for Paulik. If that is the case, he's going to need to go through pit lane again. Oh, that is horrible for Paulik. And apologies there for taking so long to notice it, but eek. So it is Dominic Ingle. As I was surprised that Paulik came out so far ahead of the Bentley, and that does explain it. So I believe it will be Ingle who is in the lead of this race, as Sander Toth exits pit road, has served his 5-second penalty. We'll have to see. Well, Ingle only just coming around the final corner now, and has Toth cleared his mandatory pit stop? So he exits the pit lane. It hasn't flipped over yet. Is this another one of our front runners who hasn't pit? No. Toth also caught out by not switching his tyres. This is going to have a huge impact on the standings at the end of this race. Are two of our front runners not changing their tyres in the pit lane, going to have to come through pit road again. And with Ingle only 3.5 seconds back from Toth, if Ingle has noticed that Toth's pit stop hasn't cleared, he's going to be, well, I was going to say he's going to be rubbing his hands together, but I hope he's still got his hands on the wheels. But he is going to be having a gleeful smile on his face right now as he notices nearest competitors have basically just earned themselves a stop-go penalty by not changing their tyres. So yeah, big yikes. And yeah, people do need to make sure they check their MFD before they enter pit road. I mean, my advice to anyone watching here is check your MFD while you're sitting on the grid. Just make sure everything looks right while you're sitting on the grid before you even go. ACC has been known to mess people up on their pit stops, and well, as you see tonight, can be extremely costly. Ooh, as oh, I didn't see what happened there. Let's go back and have a look what happened with Sander Toth and the Lexus. Is Toth just being a bit impatient? Oh, And that was the Lexus trying to let the McLaren pass, not realising that he was going to try and dive into the pit lane. Oh, and that is horrible. Oh, Toff there just trying to be a bit impatient, diving into the pit lane while there was a Lexus on his inside. Big old impact, and he's going to have to repair that damage in the pit lane. And I've got to say, that looks like it's race over for Toff. And he needs to just get his head back into this race. Has to just accept what has been lost right now and just roll with the punches, come out and try and fight for what he can get for the rest of this race. No point worrying about what has been lost at this stage. Get his head back in the race and just hope not to make any more mistakes as he calms himself down. Yeah, as potentially the pit entry, not the best place to try and let someone past, as you never know when someone might try and go into the pit lane. So usually best, especially with such a short straight, just to drive your line down there. Doesn't matter if you hold them up, let them go on the longer straight where there's not the chance of them trying to come across. But yeah, I think Toff just needed to be a bit more careful that that car was on his inside. So Fabini into the pit lane, as well as, I believe, well, actually Ingle, so Paulik staying out for now, has got to see how close Ingle is behind him. Hopefully he has noticed that he hasn't cleared his pit stop, so because he does need to make another trip down pit road. Can't just stay out and go to the end of this race, otherwise that will be, well, I believe either a big penalty or a disqualification from the race. I'm not quite sure which ACC hands out, but either way, not something you want to be serving. You do want to go into pit road and serve that mandatory pit stop and that mandatory tyre change. Oh, so Toff has left the race. So we have seen a good number of drivers, well, I say a good number of drivers, potentially a bad number of drivers leaving this race. So again, another bit of advice for anyone who does participate in the league: no matter how bad your race is going, don't leave. There's always points to be picked up, even if it's just 1 or 2 points. Could mean a lot in the championship. Hang in there to the end, if nothing more than just respect for your fellow drivers. You know, everyone has turned up here to participate in a race full of cars. Hang it out to the end. You don't like to see drivers leaving before the end of the race. As Tarula is chasing down Wang, two Ferraris. Both look like they believe these are the new Ferrari Evos. Looking at the front bumper of each of these cars, can see the tiny little sticky outy bits. So these are two Evo Ferraris. So should be a close fault race between these two cars. Yeah, Maitland Price really stretching out this first stint of the race, obviously feeling that his tyres are doing okay for now. As I say that, Maitland Price dives into pit road, so time to see where will the Bentley filter out after his pit stop. As Dominic Ingle is coming through the final sector now. This then for the lead of the race. So just a couple of corners to go here. Well, actually, I say a couple of corners to go for Ingle. It's quite a long way to the pit exit. Maitland Price still in pit lane. We can just see That is Ingle going past now, so it is now a race down to the pit exit between Ingle and Maitland-Price. I think this should be okay for Ingle, as he does get to keep this going at race pace. So yeah, Ingle takes back the net lead of this race as Maitland-Price comes out of the pit lane. And Maitland-Price behind Michael Morgan. Michael Morgan, the bronze split driver, who will find himself on the overall podium of this race if things stay the way they are. Currently sitting in P2 overall. That is absolutely phenomenal showing there from the bronze split driver. Currently running in P2. Still further down the order, the fight between Tarala and Wang continues. Apologies if I'm butchering any of these names. I mean no disrespect. With just 16 minutes left to go of this race, we're going to see a little bit of spread in the field now. Not too many close battles as people just try and consolidate what they've got. As Maitland-Price has made it past Morgan. So Maitland-Price has been freed up to go and chase down Dominic Ingle. Still with a 12.5 second gap. It's going to be a tall order to try and make up that. It's going to really be relying on some sort of mistake from Ingle. As Torben Paulik, you've got a feel for the BMW driver, as in terms of driving has not really put a foot wrong this race, but having not changed his tyres in the pit stops, does have to make another trip through pit road and will lose the lead of this race because of it. And with it likely being about just over a minute in the pit lane for a pit stop, we're going to see Paulik shuffle down, well down the order, and is going to be in the very low points. Oh, as we just see a Lexus getting very twitchy in the back there and colliding with the wall. That is a very unfortunate incident there. I'm not quite sure who that was. That did not look comfortable. Still, Matthew Morgan, the closest battle we have on track at the moment is the bronze split driver Michael Morgan chasing down the gold split driver of Richard Maitland-Price. Thanks for pointing that out, chat. Yep, it was a Marek Chittle we saw in the wall. Good on him for keeping on this race. Does need to still pit, so can get rid of that damage. And with the limited number of drivers still running in bronze split can pick up himself up a couple of points if he just holds on to the end of the race. Actually, that might be a question for the admins, is what does happen if, as a bronze split driver, you were to win 3 races overall in the gold-bronze split? So at the moment, I don't believe the rules account for that one. Paulik still staying out on track, likely wanting to hold on to the bitter end, but his tyres must be struggling, as even though he's been into the pits, these are still the tyres he started the race on, so got to imagine he'd be losing some overall performance to what he could be on some new tyres. He's got set just under 7 minutes until that pit window closes. He needs to make sure he goes into pit lane before then. Otherwise he's going to have a big old penalty coming his way. As he goes around for another lap, not opting to dive into pit road just yet. There's Romain Fabini. Continues to chase after Charles. Stick with this. Currently our closest fight on track for position, but saying that, Michael Morgan still hounding the back of Richard Maitland-Price at the moment. Go around for another lap. We're quickly approaching the final 10 minutes of this race. Still unable to find a way past Charles. And these drivers both with similar fastest laps during this race, so not much in terms of pace difference between these two drivers. So really Fabini gonna need Charles to make some sort of mistake to get by. The McLaren doesn't really have the grunt to out-drag a car, especially the Bentley, which has got such supreme traction off of the slow corners that there's no real chance of Fabini making a pass out of a corner without some sort of mistake from Charles. But Fabini very close now. Fabini gets a good line. Just needs to find the drive out of the corner. As we come around again, it's going to be an another sector where Fabini still just can't make up the gap to the car ahead. And finally, Paulik bites the bullet and is in the pit lane. And having to serve that second pit stop, that is going to be painful for the BMW driver. So we go back to this fight between Fabini and Charles. Fabini showing that he's got the pace through the corners, but not really the room to overtake through that fast sector. And in the places where you can overtake, the McLaren just isn't really strong enough. So now with all drivers having served their mandatory pit stop, as Paulik exits pit road into what is now P15 overall. Does find himself down in the well down in the points with with 3 bronze split drivers ahead of him. That will be P12 in gold split for Paulik after running so well, potentially on for the win here, or at least a P2. Is now finds himself down in P13, sorry, P12, and he'd probably be bitterly disappointed with that pit stop. But such an easy mistake to make, and yeah, he's gonna feel hard done by the game there, I would imagine. At the front, Matthew Morgan still chasing after Richard Maitland-Price, and I think the fighting between these two has actually allowed Richard Christie and Nicholas Reschelberg to catch up to this fight. And these two could start getting involved here in the dying moments of this race. And this is confirmation, the pit window has closed. Thankfully all of our drivers have served their mandatory pit stop. And Morgan so close on the rear bumper of Maitland-Price. This bronze split driver showing that he doesn't want to stay in bronze split for long, but he wants to be fighting with the big boys. As Morgan looks to the inside, it would be an ambitious move, and opts to stick in behind. But all of this fighting has allowed Richard Christie to close right up, now within a second of Matthew Morgan. It'll be interesting to see how Matthew Morgan opts to play this one now, because he is very much involved in this fight for P2 in the gold split race. So we will keep with this fight for now, because as you say, Dr. Rob, this is a spicy fight at the moment. Yeah, I would think. I can see here that Morgan definitely has the pace to be in this fight and to be attacking Maitland-Price, but it's a tricky situation because Matthew Morgan does not stand to profit from being involved in this fight, and I can imagine that the likes of Richard Christie behind just getting a little frustrated here. Would like to be the one to be pressuring Maitland-Price for the pass, and doesn't want to have to deal with a bronze split driver ahead of him. As we said before, Matthew Morgan has every right to be fighting here. He's not a back marker. He may be in the lower split, but he's not being shown blue flags. He is there by complete merit. Oh, as Morgan runs just a little bit wide, they're not able to get the drive out of the corner, and that has allowed Maitland-Price to pull a little bit of a gap ahead. Morgan maybe just pushing a little too much there, and that is making him fall back into the clutches of Richard Christie. Christie is going to want to try and make a move as quick as possible so that he can start attacking Maitland-Price in the final lap of this race. Or as Christie now as close as he's ever been. We are now on to the final lap of this race. And Matthew Morgan very much involved in this fight for the overall P2. As Maitland-Price runs wide, and Matthew Morgan seizing an opportunity. Oh, please don't be contact. As Morgan stays in the fight. Oh, and this, you have to imagine this is super frustrating for Richard Christie, who just wants to be unleashed to go and start chasing down Maitland-Price, especially after Maitland-Price making that mistake. He wants to be the one to capitalise on it. And now Morgan seems to be making a few mistakes, and now does seem to be holding up Christie. Yeah, it does look like Matthew Morgan is overdriving just a bit, and may have cost Richard Christie a chance to attack Maitland-Price. And Maitland-Price will be grateful for having a rear gunner here in the form of the bronze split driver of Matthew Morgan, who did take some of that forward position pressure off of him. That was a very good race from our leading group. We did miss Dominic Ingle winning the race. A very good drive from the Bentley driver. And then Maitland-Price and Matthew Morgan round out our podium. And, well, to be fair, Matthew Morgan was fighting there to be on the podium. And so, you know, big respect for the bronze split driver. He earned his place on the overall podium in that race. So very well done there. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We will be back next week for the night race at Spa. And I believe Rookie Split's very own Gareth Ronda will be broadcasting the Pro Split race here at Misano for you all tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you again very soon.